Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip with a first.
After making our way through Chaos Island and some long yet interesting boss fights that test the combat you've unlocked even more so than before, we finally arrive at the Titan of this island. After I break my LNR buttons. The evil desk chair of Chaos Island makes a statement earlier on the island to show that his shield is an integral part of him as an enemy. It follows Sonic on his run away from the chair as he runs on Squid's trail. I do actually think that this is a very smart way of bringing existing assets together, but the fact that this is all played in 2D makes it feel much more boring than I'd like it to be. Once you finally run into the chair again in this massive crater, you'd think that you're supposed to go to his legs to climb him. But nope, he starts spinning around like a damn Beyblade, and where his roller wheels last touch, spikes shoot out of the ground and can hurt you. The best strategy that I've found to do is to double stomp, jump in the air boost, and then finally hold parry. This gives Sonic maximum height so that the spikes won't be able to touch him. But even then, if you do somehow get hit by the spikes, they hit you really high into the sky here for some reason, meaning you can just use any of Sonic's moves to get yourself back in the game. But then he throws his armrest into the ground, and if you get hit by this, it's instant death, even if you parry. My recommendation here, just run away, honestly. I don't have a great solution here. The armrest shoots out spikes. Parrying them and moving forward while the game is still in slow motion is a good strategy, but jumping over the spikes isn't too bad either. After we finally reach the top of his head, it's time to battle. Right at the start, he pulls a massive sword out of his body, and then this guy reactivates Beyblade mode and starts spinning like crazy. This makes the camera start spinning around to follow him, as the player is stuck trying to chase him while also feeling incredibly motion sick. After he decides to stop spinning, he begins his first strike with his sword. After parrying it, what's this? For the first time, the Titan is actually blocking against your attack. Once you hit the shield enough times, a cutscene plays out where he blasts you back, and then hurls the shield at you. After completing the QuickTime event, Sonic jumps on the shield and starts riding it through the sky, dodging and weaving through the endless onslaught of missiles being fired at you, pushing you backwards, but then you finally push through and drill it into his face. After all of that, you are now able to attack the chair. That beginning section just took about a minute, and with that cutscene, this can sometimes feel like it goes on for too long. But that is the best part about this boss. You can avoid so much of it at your own leisure. Remember the very first section of him spinning around? You can hit him during this section. Best way to do it is by dodging and then pressing the homing attack button to activate Wild Rush. After this, make sure to use moves that slow down time, so then you can get maximum hits on him before he takes out the shield. But it's possible to make it all the way to phase 2 without him ever taking out his shield. This is because you're on the third island. You've likely already unlocked the entire skill tree, especially since the skill tree was designed with 3 islands in mind, as seen by the 3 separated moves. And again, if your Sonic is well upgraded, you'll be able to take him down even easier. But there's more. Let's say you either didn't finish off his health bar in that time, or you weren't able to homing attack him during his spinning, which, fair enough, it is actually pretty hard to time that. But there is still more that you can do. He's gonna do the same thing as before, holding his shield in front of him as defense, but you can still avoid the shield. All you have to do is hit it once, then hit either L or R, and you completely avoided the shield segment and you're able to attack him very early. But even then, at least personally, I would argue that the flying shield section is still fun. Flying through the sky on it while avoiding all the missiles is really cool and requires skill to get around them and close in on the chair. This boss has already shown me a part of it that is fun and leads to even more fun, but also gives me the opportunity to avoid it if I'm able to properly time my homing attacks or utilize the dodging techniques. I would say this actually bypasses the homing attack to stomp combo, because using that doesn't slow down time enough for you to finish off his health bar in that time. If Sonic, for example, uses the spin slash, it's true that you're not getting as many actions as you would with the homing attack to stomp combo, but because it is one move that lasts for a long time because of the slow motion and it does more damage on its own, I think using these other moves that the game has given you is the only way they're able to take him down early. Compared to Wyvern, this alone is already leagues better than his entire chase section. Because aside from the combat that you would use on Wyvern, all you can do in that fight is continuously move in an automated straight line and hold parry. In this fight, you have so many options of what you can do, and all of them, at least in my opinion, are fun. It's fun to figure out when to activate the Wild Rush. It's fun to get around the shield to get an early advantage on the chair. And even riding the shield, like I said before, is fun. If you don't find them fun, then you've at least got to admit that it's much more fun than anything Wyvern had to offer. There's almost nothing to do in that boss compared to this. But still, it doesn't stop there. The Grand Slam in this boss is perfection. Seeing Sonic go crazy and repeatedly bash the chair's legs until he topples over is incredible. and then they follow it up with Sonic drilling into its chest, and then an uppercut, and then a heel spike. What the fuck? Personally, however, I don't use the Grand Slam in this boss too often, since the cutscene does go on for a decent amount of time, but if I'm in the mood to take a step back and watch it play out, why not? Besides, it's not forced on you. It's entirely up to you on whether or not you want to use the Grand Slam. After beating up this chair enough, it enters phase 2, where a bunch of red sparks shoot out of him and rain down. We proceed to never see them later in the fight, and that kinda sucks, but he then throws out his shield. However, this time, it looks a little different. The camera is zoomed out, and the shield is moving independently of the chair. After a couple seconds of moving around the arena, it suddenly clicks. Using the line that the shield is showing, you need to parry the shield to stop it from moving. Then, you have to aim it not at the chair, but where he's going to go. This will get him to stop moving, leaving him open for an attack. This boss is able to have a puzzle in it that's incredible. This has so much more depth than any of the other Titan fights. We have the opening where you can get a jump start on the spinning, dodge the shield, or ride the shield, and now the game asks you to use the knowledge of the parry and combine it with the movement of Supersonic going after a moving object. Unlike Wyvern, it's not being babied for you. You, the player, have to go out and get yourself in the right position to parry. The shield isn't directly flying at you to be parried with no movement on your part. It's up to you to control the character and actually play the game. And side note, you can attack him without parrying his shield, but I don't think anyone's gonna do this. Parrying his shield and aiming is definitely the better option here. And at this point, he isn't able to use his shield anymore, so you're able to attack him a lot easier. Something to watch out for, however, is that his sword attacks come out very fast. See, his sword doesn't stop when you're doing an attack, it'll go right through it. This becomes even more difficult at certain points, because some of Sonic's moves change the camera angle, making it harder to see when the sword is actually going to hit. Not only that, but getting hit actually punishes you, as you then have to redo the shield aiming section just to get back to where you were. I also find it neat that we get an animation of Sonic getting back up after getting hit. It looks like he's actually taking a beating from this boss when he gets hit, which makes me appreciate the challenge here more. The chair has the highest health bar out of all the Titan bosses, meaning it takes more effort from the player to take it down. A good method to stop the chair from using his sword is by using the Psyloop, which shoots tons of spears into his back and holds him in place. And then if you do it again, then a massive spear stabs him through the chest and one of two things happens. Either he gets up immediately and swings his sword, or he stays laying on the ground while he's impaled and you're able to attack him. I always get different results with this part, and I'm not sure why. But again, that is another method of getting through this boss in unique ways. There are so many little things that you can do here that give Sonic an advantage, but you have to do it skillfully and use them at the right time. And the best part of it, it's not in your face. It's up to you to figure out how to do these things. And all of it is things that you've been doing in the game this far anyways. All it takes is a little bit of experimentation, and you can do it. After some time of using those techniques, Sonic should be able to get the chair's health low enough to trigger the final cutscene. The chair brings his sword crashing down, and Sonic is able to catch it and then hold onto it while the chair leaps into the air and slams the sword into the wall. Sonic then kicks the sword away, proceeds to punch him in the face, which makes the sword go flying away, and Sonic uses this opportunity to use the Psyloop to pick up the sword. Not only is seeing Sonic use a sword again for the first time since Black Knight legendary, but seeing Super Sonic use it to cut this guy in half made me cry. As I've said before, Sonic Frontiers' Titan fights already have a big advantage over other Sonic boss fights, including other Supersonic fights. Since here in Frontiers, you have the same moveset as you do in the open zone, but it's stronger, faster, and just a better Sonic, which to me is what Supersonic should always be. I think Giganto understood how to make a Supersonic boss fun while still requiring input from the player, but this legendary chair went ahead and made it more technical and in-depth while still providing the flashy spectacle and style. It perfects everything of what a Supersonic boss should be, at least to me, giving the player tons of options to close in on the enemy, making Supersonic feel incredibly powerful and badass, injecting the battle with flashy, memorable style, and another amazing song. I don't know another boss in the Sonic series that even comes close to the amount of everything in this boss fight. Genuinely, I don't think there's any other Sonic boss that compares to this one. To me, this truly is the peak of Sonic boss battles. I'm curious how Sonic Team will handle the bosses in the next game, but I'm even more curious on how they will do it on the final island of Sonic Frontiers, which we will discuss later. Before I end the video, once again, I want to thank Scully for making the thumbnail for this video. It's amazing, as always. Thank you so much for making it, man. With that being said, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.